Welcome to Wild by Zones, a podcast about reviewing every zone in popular MMO World of Warcraft. I'm Ari.
I'm Torin, and I'm looking forward to being zoned. Wows? Yeah, one of those words.
Nope.
Nope.
Try again.
Nope.
Try again. That was bad.
Anyway, yep, I'm Torin.
I'm Eowyn. I have never been wowed by a zone once in my life. I'm famously hateful, so sorry.
What about when the trolls are around?
Oh my god, the Vol'jin's so sexy.
This was a very good intro.
Hey, I didn't bring them up this time. That's not my fault.
I don't know if that's how it works. So we're finally out of the starting zones, huh?
Took us a while. What, 3 months?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, literally, we have done 3 months of starting zones, and now we are into the second zones. So, Darkshore. The second zone for night elves in the game, which you get to by crossing the Great Sea and going from the beautiful, vibrant, violet, magical elf forest of Teldrassil. You cross the water to like a place that's a little more muted, a little more like dark. Hence the
Yes.
shore that's kind of dark.
Yeah,
Hence the name.
I wouldn't describe. Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as like a twisted dark forest in the way you see something like Tirisfal Glades, but it is this like really dense. It's very unforgiving. Like no matter where you are in the zone, except you're on the beach, you can't see more than like a few feet in front of you because there's always this like. It's not like there's like almost a misty effect, and then the trees are really close together and dense. It's you just get the feeling that this is not a place for humans, or I mean, night elves. But I mean, night elves are yes.
It just feels like generally like it looks like a big undisturbed forest. It's like you go to Germany, you see their giant forests, and you're like, damn, I'm about to be eaten by wolves. That's the kind of vibe.
Yeah, and I think and you see by the general geography of the zone, it's really spread out. There is one city, Aberdeen, and the rest of there's a few other like buildings and stuff.
It's a town, not a city.
Yeah, it's true. It's a town. There's one town, Aberdeen, and everything else is like there are a couple of ruins around, and that's it. There's nothing else. There's and one little grove of like a few druids and like ancient like tree people. But that's it. Like it is. This is not a place of civilization in the way that Teldrassil, despite being this magic forest, really definitely is.
Yeah, it provides a really nice contrast to the previous zone, and I especially really like just like how I definitely like how it feels less tamed than Teldrassil does.
It also feels less corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Like being in the forest, just because like the inherent, like it feels like a less magical, like that nature hasn't been messed with in this place.
Well,
I mean,
no, it has.
Anyway.
It has. I'm talking about initial vibes, though.
Yeah, and speaking from that, it actually gets into like how you actually get to there in the first place. Basically, like there's a fisherwoman on the beach of Rothron Village, which is the village that's the port village of Teldrassil. It basically says, "Hey, the fish around here are like kind of weird and like really large. Can you like go into Darkshore and like go to Aberdeen and see like what the fisher people live there, like how their fish are looking like?" And then like you go there and you find the fish, and the fish are like literally half the size in Darkshore. Like, wow. And you take it back to the person over at Teldrassil, and they're like, wow, there's this huge change. Like, there's something wrong with what we're doing. Like, this is like, we went through this a lot in our Teldrassil video, but as much as this tree, like Teldrassil, like LARPs as this natural thing, it is clearly something artificial being built up, and and you see this clearly in that beginning area, and how we get into Darkshore is this place that's more natural.
Yeah, basically, Fandral Staghelm is a loser and a fool. Anyway, so once you get to Darkshore, basically, like, there's a ton of giant, like, half-eaten corpses of animals, like, just kind of littering the shore. And you're able to interact with them, and they give you a quest to go talk to the resident priestess of the moon of the village. Her name is Gwyneth, and she's a pretty like Denelin, who was the scientist, night elf back, like environmental scientist, like very rigorous scientific method kind of guy within Teldrassil. That's sort of the role she's taken as a priestess of the moon, which is pretty strange for a priestess of the moon. Usually they're very praise-a-loon, talking about nature in more vague, mystical terms, but she's like, no, oh wow, this is weird. We should investigate this. Why don't you bring me samples of everything you see, and then we'll examine them and figure out what's going on, what's wrong here.
I don't know if I fully agree with that, saying that it's odd for night elves, because we're just presented with a night elf who does this.
It's odd for priestesses of the moon.
And I think to like go and build on that, it is odd, but also Denelin was a little bit odd too, right? He didn't he didn't live in the normal druidic structure. He wasn't he wasn't like, oh, I'm working with nature to do these things. He was isolating things. And I think Gwyneth is also similar. She doesn't work exactly the same way Denelin does. She's mostly talking, hey, I want to get some understanding about like what's happening to this beach. So I want you to go out and like check out samples of these animals. She doesn't specifically do like experiments and the like Denelin does. She's more seems considered with the pressing threat on Auburn and Sif. So she definitely has that sort of difference. I think Priests of the Moon have this larger focus on the actual civilization, the actual social structure of the Druids, who are more interested in that more vague nature space. And I think the difference here is interesting because both of them are different from the Priests of the Moon and Druids, but also still represent something like core to the identity of those two factions or two elements of the Night Elves.
It's also important that she's the only priestess of the moon here. So she is the representative of the priestesses here.
Implicitly, she is effectively one of the highest authorities in the town.
She's second to Thundress.
Yes.
Yeah.
The head druid of
the big thing with her quests is that you start to notice that like things are like wildlife is being like drawn away from Teldrassil in a very strange way. Like this marine like sea life is throwing itself on the shore of Darkshore as if to get away from something. So
literally, like the quest describes them, they're beaching themselves. They are violently running away and beaching themselves intentionally to get away from Teldrassil.
Yes, it's interesting how you see this. The Darkshore in itself doesn't seem to be, as we said, that corrupted. There's the corrupted elements, but it's like these creatures from Teldrassil who are like being pushed away for some reason. But as we said, like the fish are literally double the size in Teldrassil because of the weird magic, like unnatural magic around it, beach themselves, in Darkshore. And then you see this, you look the other way, you start to get quests to go check out Darkshore, and you find that like there's these like horrifically diseased bears. And they're like, what's good with these bears? And like there's one elf given a quest. Oh, hey, who gives you a look at them. I'll mention them again later. But they mentioned, there seems to be a corruption that comes from Felwood over the mountain. So Darkshore is this weird space of like being sandwiched between these two pretty like. How Felwood is like everyone knows is a horrific, dangerous, terrifying place. It's like spoken like in hushed tones like throughout Darkshore.
It is the main base of the satyrs within Azeroth, I think.
Yes.
I believe it's also literally where like where the Legion like came in. No, it's the place where in Warcraft 3 Illidan devoured the Skull of Gul'dan and destroyed Tichondrius.
That's true. Yes.
So more on that when we get to that.
So one side we have the satyr, like the supposed twisted, monstrous night elves who sold their souls to the demons, and the other side we have the actual night elves also selling their soul in a way to try to get immortality back. Oh, wait, they did the same thing. Interesting. And we have Darkshore between those two spaces, and I just find.
Oh my god! Don't be mean to the night elves. They're trying their best. Oh.
Speaking, and I think that's a good way to segue into. Speaking of that immortality. I think that's a good place to segue into the two first areas that you quest in there. The Highborn Ruins of Ametharan and Bashalaran. Two areas just covered in demons in one of them and ghosts in the other. Ancient ruins of villages that were once the territory of the Highborn. The form of Ajara's ancient empire. The form the elves took before the Druidism, before the civilization we are known now, the civilization that we are part of.
Yeah, it's clearly different in completely different in architecture. than current Night Elf buildings. It's like as if all Night Elf buildings were exactly like the Temple of the Moon in Darnassus, because most of the architecture of Wood Elves looks like purple and like purple woody kind of like slightly fantasy looking homes. Whereas these are like all stone, like marble kind of pillars, like calls back to like Greek
Rome-ish?
architecture, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot more stately and high-born, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, it's stately, but also in, as you mentioned, like the Priestess of the Moon's architecture is similar, in this sort of like this kind of like mystical way. So it's not just stately, but it's almost like the mysticism of the old Night Elves was a worship of themselves in a way.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that actually. It's very interesting how it is interesting how the only form of the old architecture is still present in modern Night Elf society is in their honoring of Elune, because the cult of Elune was a major part of the ancient Night Elven Empire. Like that was a part of their belief system that existed before, but more on that later. Regardless, you get some really nice exposition during this area about the Shattering, a time far before Warcraft 1, when the Night Elven Empire fell and the world itself was violently shattered apart. When Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms were broken apart and many people died. And
For context, 80% of the world's landmass sunk during this time.
Yep. And you get some like little like storytelling around this village where you investigate and you find some like ancient things that say Athricus Narison, a man who one of Ashara's most favored mages and effectively the governor of this area and the governor of this area back in the day, who is you have characterization around this character on like ruins and through a ghost that you run into named Asterion. Nope, not that one. A different guy. Very funny to be written this in 2024. Who is mentioned as Athricus II, and he who promised his people when the waters were rushing in and the world was breaking, promised his people salvation, that they would be saved and rendered immortal once more. So
they I think it worked. It worked great. They're not dead. Well, not really.
They're and hey, remember how Bashalran is a ruin littered with angry ghosts? I think Athricus might have betrayed everybody.
Oopsies! Hey, he gave them exactly what he promised: eternal life.
And later on, you find his tower, which is filled with two high level warlocks and demons that you can't deal with. So
That's crazy.
Athricus is an interesting like little villain that's set up for like later stuff in the zone.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I think we start to understand where modern Night Elf society came from, right? Because this obsessive like desire for immortality, for power, for this self-aggrandizing civilization that you so clearly see in these ruins. Like the Night Elves, the modern times can be so far from that. Like could be further from that. I don't think. Like there are elements of this grandness, but it's always like, oh, the Elune is this thing that we worship. We put above everything else, but we are like beneath her. We like look up to her, and so our only object that is of this divine like stately level is that to her, and the rest of society is mostly run by druids on a day-to-day basis on this like level of reciprocity of like living with nature, of just like going by. It's clearly a level of we need to find a way of living, finding an ideology that works after the Sundering, after we destroyed the world with our own desire for our own power.
And our society, and when our society was elevating people like Athricus and Narison, who, as we've established, was a monstrous, selfish, evil wizard.
But Asterion was cool.
I mean, yeah, Asterion was. I mean, we don't even know that much about Asterion. All we know is that he was one of the people betrayed by Athricus and bound to this location.
Well, he was bound to the other location.
Well, yeah, Spout to the other look. There's 2 villages. They both got fucked up. Um,
Also, I think it's really interesting that they don't. I don't think that they name drop Ajara at all.
no, they do. It is
Like-
mentioned that they do once. The writings we do that lead to like the writings we run into that in a Metheran specifically call out Athricus as one of Ajara's favored servants.
Sure, but it doesn't explain who Ajara is or what exactly happened. Like, all of this is told to you in vague terms. I feel like actually that's a really common theme in all of Darkshore, is you are given hints about several things in the future. The Shadow Council, the Naga, Ajara, all the Twilight's Hammer stuff. It's all hinted at. And you're like, if you have like as someone who's played through all of these things and knows all of these things, I'm like, okay, that's what's going on here. That's what's going on here. But as a new player, I would be like, I wonder what's up with everything. It's very interesting. It's clearly like they're intentionally not giving you all of the information to give you a clear understanding unless you've played all of the previous games.
And I think it's done in a really effective way here because it's such a thick forest. Like, you're just walking through these thick forests, and every so often you like the forest opens and you have this like actually immaculately beautiful ruins of the old Night Elf Empire. You're like, what is this? This is the first time any new player has ever seen this, and you're just like sort of like hell. I think like almost like dazed in its beauty. You're like, wow, it's all dead. I wonder where that came from. And then you like leave that, and the ruins disappear, and the forest closes up, and the number time opens up, and whoa, there's this giant weird monster thing with the giant glaive seat at his head, and so on. Like, there's these like it's Darkshore just has this element of it seems to like almost like
it makes the world feel big.
Yes, but it feels
I think it's also just a really effective game design thing because because WoW is a game where people make lots of alts. Like, I don't know anyone who plays WoW who doesn't play multiple characters. When you replay these zones, you're like as someone who's actually experienced that, you can have those aha moments where you're like, oh my god, that's what was going on there. Oh my god, that's like, which is so exciting, like, and satisfying for a player. Like, every time when I reread a book and I notice new things, I'm like, wow, this is a sign that this is a good book, that there's things you missed and that you can get on the second time.
Yeah.
I think what I really like about Darkshore, in like the original version of Darkshore here, is that the way it opens up as a second zone,
Yes.
the way it after the like more sheltered and like self-contained zone of Teldrassil that was like theoretically supposed to be like the place where you gain maturity and like in a safer place. It wasn't actually safe, but that's because of other reasons. And then moving from there to the less tamed place, to the outside world, the place that's actually connected to the main world of Kalimdor of Darkshore. I think the zone really does a great job of like having a new player go into the world and see the connections as they begin to like this bigger stuff that exists. And I really love that. I really love how Darkshore does that.
Yeah, and I think on that, it's almost like you mentioned, like, oh, Teldrassil feels like the safe place, but actually isn't safe. Darkshore feels like an unsafe place, but actually it's mostly a pretty safe place. And I think that kind of like switching this whole like idea of like this, the artificiality of Teldrassil like covers up its threats, where Darkshore doesn't cover up threats. The threats sort of just like exist, and the wildlife and all these things that you can't deal with. But what it does cover up is the past, right? It has all these ruins, all these things, and it just sort of like, I think I almost like imagine like the branches like repressing that past and covering it all up, and you just get these little peeks at the things that's happened, the empire that used to be here. Like, you can just imagine that going on forever. And you think, oh wow, even beyond these ruins, I bet you there were empires that were there thousands of years before them. We can't even see anymore because they've been completely thrown over it at this point. I just love Darkshore as that thing, that almost like a true nature that absorbs all humanity.
Yep. One of the last places you go to, by the way, and this is another like even bigger Night Elfin ruin, whose purpose you don't learn. It just like, while the other people of the village, this looks like it used to be like a town or maybe even a city, and it is fully overgrown by a bunch of evil snake people called Naga.
You forgot sexy evil snake people. Sorry, it was really important that
you're into
tell
that.
them that.
No, even if you're not into it, they're definitely
they're still sexy. Sorry.
Yeah, and they're one of the few, one of the good old models. So
yeah.
And who, by the way, spoiler alert, the game doesn't tell you this, but these Naga, there's a reason they're here. And the reason is because, so, while Night Elf society exists as a reaction to Ajaras and the Ancient Empire, as a reaction against it, the Naga are the natural conclusion of that state. They are where the Queen Ajara actually went. I won't go too much into it because this version of the zone doesn't really go into the Naga that much, but I like how it places them there and like brings that association of these ancient ruins of the Naga very early, for like when you meet Naga again later on.
Yeah, and as we I feel like we've kind of set up this the elements. Like we have the satyr who like live in Felwood, who are like pushing and pressuring. We have the Night of like corruption from Teldrassil itself pushing into Darkshore, and then in the north we have the Naga, where like all these things are really just different versions of Night Elves in a way.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But what's interesting of the zone is it's not just a Night Elf zone. There actually are 4 other intelligent or semi-intelligent races that exist in Darkshore who all have a relationship to the Night Elves, and I want to look at those next because I think it's interesting how. Well, if we talk about the Night Elf, modernized society as a response to their imperial tendencies of the past, what's the opposite of empire would be isolationism, right? And so how they treat or how the world treats around them treats these other races, I think speaks to a lot of. The first I want to talk about is
both of those kinds of societies are super racist.
Yeah. First, I'm sorry. You go on.
Yeah, the first one I think you really meet is this is also I think worth noticing. This is the first time that Night Elves are going to meet the allies in the Alliance, because you don't really meet them in Teldrassil. But here, you meet a bunch of dwarves and a gnome. Dwarves are... We've already talked about what dwarves and gnomes are. And your first impression
people, just in case they didn't
short
know.
people.
Short people live in mountains.
Yes.
Yay.
You meet a bunch of weird dwarves that are kind of like... They're kind of crude. They're mainly here as friends that are like looking for like archaeology. They have a big forge. They look like dwarves. And then there's a gnome who's a weird inventor who lives in a house. And the quests for them are very tonally strange.
Yes.
The gnome quest is absolutely insane. Like basically, so gnomes are kind of goofy. Like they're just a kind of goofy race, and this bitch is an exemplifying example of that. Like he literally gives you a quest where you have to. This is the only quest in the zone that you're just killing animals for basically no reason. You know, like all the other times you kill animals, it's to help nature because we're in a Night of Sound. No, this gnome, he's like, no, you gotta go kill 6 of these things, and then 10 of those things, and then 4 of these things, and he has you deliver them to these buzzbox, which he claims these random animal parts, when you put them in, will power the boxes. There's after doing a few of these, you quickly realize that this man is lying to you, and these clearly are already in operation, and he's progressively getting more drunk as you finish each quest. And at the end, he reveals, surprise, surprise, oh yeah, obviously these all worked all the time. He just wanted you to get animal parts so he could make them into drinks for himself.
Yes.
Oh my!
Because the Night Elves don't want him to be slaughtering animals.
No.
I
mean, he also says, "Oh, the Night Elves." Actually, it's kind of interesting thing. Oh, Night Elves are against selling alcohol in the main town. So he's like getting around it by manipulating you.
What a weird little character there.
And what's interesting is this quest is by far the longest quest chain in the zone. It takes up like a fourth of your actual time in the zone is just doing these quests for this gnome, because the drop rate on these animals is extremely low, and you have to kill so many of them. It's insane. Like it's hard to put my hands on it, but I feel like it gives you a pretty poor view of gnomes. I'll say it that way.
To be fair, all of WoW kind of gives you a poor view of gnomes.
True.
They don't do anything, they're useless, and none of their inventions work correctly.
The gnome is not the most ridiculous character in the zone.
Yes. So the dwarves, these archaeologist dwarves, kind of funny, like because you do some archaeology for the night elves, but night elf archaeology is like, oh, pick up some little artifacts over where the Naga are like defending them because we want to keep them safe. Like night elf archaeology is a pretty unrefined, unadvanced thing. Or dwarves, like they strip mine when they do archaeology. They like go deep into it. They find everything they possibly can.
You ran into a little of that in Mulgore, I remember.
Yeah, they don't really comment too much on it, but it's pretty clear that elves are a little bit weirded out by that. Like, but they don't really say much. But you actually get a quest to go down. Like one of the basically the assistants, like, hey, my master, like I've been worried about him. Like we all left the dig site and he stayed out of there. Can you go check on him? You get to that place.
Prospector fucking Rem Travel.
Oh my god, this man.
Rem Travel is an insane character. He basically, he walks you. He's like, oh hey, I left my thing. What was it? My notes in the dig site. Can you come help me get them? Now you start walking. The escort quests. First of all, escort quests in World of Warcraft are the most miserable experience in the entire world, like in classic WoW, because they are the person you're escorted walks extremely slowly. They are really weak. They die really easily. If you get too far away from them, you fail the quest. The quests are very long, and you're fighting enemies. Like often, you're fighting 2, 3, or 4 enemies at a time. They are difficult quests. But in here, they're doing this really difficult, like annoying quest. He just sort of aimlessly wanders around in circles. Like he walks.
Where did I put that mysterious fossil? Maybe up here. Nope, nothing over here. No mysterious fossil over here. My copy of the book. I love this book. I bet I left it in the tent.
And then it's revealed at the end that the assistant you sent who sent you down here. Oh yeah, she has my notes. Go back to her.
She has the artifact.
Like, what?
Why did you make me do this? I was so mad.
So our two introductions to the alliance are gnomes and dwarves, and they are told through a
one of them's a drunkard, and the other is
senile.
a senile.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I think this speaks to almost like the goofy side to Night Elven sort of isolationism, but the other side I think is more like significant, and that's the Moonkin and the Furbolgs. Moonkin and Furbolgs are traditionally like longtime allies of the Night Elves, especially the Night Elf Druids, right? Moonkin, we didn't really go. Furbolgs we went over a bit in Teldrassil, how they were all corrupted, and how we talked a little bit about how classic WoW does not handle Furbolgs well, because you basically always just kill them because they're always corrupted.
Spoiler alert. They're still corrupted. Yes. They're still doing bad shit.
That's crazy.
They kidnapped a dude.
Yeah. And so all of the we do actually find the specific object that is the enemy that is like corrupting these Furbolgs here. Like at least we try to end the corruption, but we kill them, but then we don't really do anything from there, right? They just sort of like left them happen. And we also kill a lot of Furbolgs in the meantime. And with the Moonkin, we don't even try, right? There's just a level of these quests are given mostly from the head druid, like from Thunderous, who supposedly should be like the biggest ally to these people, the person who wants to reach out the most and at least try to save them, and no attempt whatsoever is given. Like you can bet your ass that if those were Night Elves who were corrupted, he would do everything he possibly could to save them. But the fact that they're Furbolgs, that he just
I don't know. Don't you consider Naga and Satyr are both corrupted Night Elves, and the Night Elves don't seem to care about saving them.
To be fair, they chose to do that,
I suppose, not
all of the Naga chose to do that initially, but yeah, they are a different. I think it's more like in the fact that like Thunderous is loyal to the Night Elven people first before he is loyal to his druidism, because of the fact that he's not just a druid, he's
also the head of the town,
and he has to put the people of Alperdine first. Which I think is reflected in his priorities, and it is a little bit of a shame with the way it happens.
He also seems apologetic about it. Like in every quest from him, he is sad that he has to send you to do these things.
Yeah,
but he still does it.
I don't love the storytelling in this quest. I think it could be better done, but I think it basically works to like establish like some of the some of the corruption bit. I do wish. The one big shame about this and there is I wish we had a better sense of like the Furbolgs and the Moonkim as allies of the Night Elves and like just saw what their role in the forest is maybe before or like during like seeing them like corrupted and fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with that, but I do think it does serve to illustrate the way Night Elves sort of think about outsiders and think about everyone really as outsiders.
True.
Gnomes, dwarves, moonkin, furbolgs all serve as different elements of how that kind of reflects this sort of this isolationism. And I think it's kind of important.
Mhm.
I think that's actually most clearly like communicated in this character Volcor. Who's
I love Volcor. He's my boy. Oh my god.
You want to talk about him?
Yeah, I'll talk about him. Okay, so basically, Volcor is this. He's basically the most extreme version of an isolationist night elf who's super like pessimistic and just solves his problems through violence that I think I've seen ever, like within at least classic. Basically, you find out about this guy from this druid who lives in Aberdeen, and he's hanging out with Grimclaw, who's a bear that is Volcor's best friend. Grimclaw's kind of worried about Volcor, so he goes to the druid to enlist help to save his friend. You go through a couple quests and eventually end up in a Furbolg encampment that has a cave. You go into the cave and you find Volcor, who's injured and wrapped up, and he wants to get out of the cave and go see Grimclaw again because Grimclaw is his best friend. And you have an option of doing the quest. He literally is like escape. There's two quests when you click on him. It says escape by force or escape by stealth. Unfortunately, we chose escape by force both times because we needed those leather rewards. You know how it be. But basically, as you're leaving, and again, it's another escort quest. Like, I don't know why there's so many in this zone. But you go out, slaughter the furbolgs, and as you're slaughtering the furbolgs, like, Volcor says some things that are absolutely unhinged. Like, Volcar's like, oh, if we die, at least we died like giving an effort. He's clearly like it's based on what he says, it sounds like he almost wants to die, and he wants to die in violence. Like, he's for some reason like a Klingon night elf for some damn reason. He's like just an unhinged kind of guy. And then when he bring him back to Grimclaw, both of them reunite. It's very sweet. They clearly love each other. And then he says to Grimclaw upon the conclusion of the quest, he says, wow, maybe there are some good people still in this world. It's like, this man is very sad and very broken.
I love Volcor.
I really love Volcor.
Speaking of sad, broken people, there's also a dude who's lost his wife in the shattering. And speaking on like the immortality stuff, just apologies that we forgot to bring him. I probably should have brought him up then, but the zone brings up like a dude who's like missing his wife from the shattering and finds out that her haunted ghost is still there. And
they separated because he was a druid and went to sleep with the other druids. And again, he wakes up 1,000 years later expecting to see his girlfriend, and she's dead. And he's really broken up about it. And he finds out that her shade is just kind of wandering around. So he sends you to kill her shade so she can be released. You come back, and then her ghost appears, and they have like a little heartfelt conversation together to end. And it's really sweet, and it really reflects how unused to night elves, like this man, Cerulean, expected himself to go to sleep for 1,000 years and just wake up and see his girlfriend. And he's genuinely shocked and saddened that she's dead.
I don't think that was it, actually. I double-checked this one. It's actually that Anaya... So when Cerulean went to sleep with Malfurion and the druids, Anaya was already dead. But his dreams were always... Oh, yeah. She died because she died when Amethyran was destroyed when the Shattering happened. The druids went to sleep after that.
Oh, that's my bad then. Sorry, guys.
It's all good. I could definitely see there's definitely ways to like write the narrative, but yeah, that's the way it works there. Cerulean Whiteclaw is just a sad man who's been constantly haunted for thousands of years by Anaya, and he just... it's really interesting to think about that, like from that like whole like the elves are this long history, and like the way and it's not just history for a lot of them. This dude was
For
alive
all
10,000
of
years
them.
ago. Almost all of them were like alive 10,000 years ago.
There's a reason
Many
there's
of
no
them
night elf children.
not all of them. I think there are some that are younger there, but like some were, and like this guy was, and he's still holding on to feelings from back then because that's how night elves perceive the world. They see it in this longer sense, and I really like how like this, and I really like that like little thing that he only gets closure now.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring that up, that whole idea of like it's not just like a history; it's also a personal history, because the trees of Darkshore, right, are like are crowding around these like old ruins. Like these ruins are obviously been there for thousands of years, right? That's the kind of like impression you get from them, these old, striking, ancient things. But as we see, these night elves remembered it. They were there. There are no night elf kids. These night elves are just living in this past, right? It's almost like it's hard I think to like personally like feel that, and I think that this quest gives a little insight into that, because the most of the time you're like, oh, you think of these things as such far past, as the Sundering is a thing that happened so long ago that couldn't possibly thought of it. Like for example, that character Cerulean, he slept for 1,000 years. Like for him it's like something that just happened in a way. And this sort of like stretching out of time and of experience, and where personal history, and racial history are like things that almost are one and the same. They're hard to distinguish. So when we understand that, Night Elf society reacted to the Asharan Empire to become this specific society built around these poles of male druids and female priests of the moon, this is something that all these characters experienced and saw happening. Like, and I think that's really important to understand the elves in all of their, both good and bad.
All right.
I think we should talk about the last part of the zone that you encounter next, and that's the Master's Glaive. So basically, what the Master's Glaive is, it's kind of this big, weird-looking skull thing, and I mean huge. Like there's people living in the skull. It's really big, and it sort of looks like there's a shell on the back of it, and it looks very Cthulhu-esque. And it's surrounded by a bunch of cultists that you don't really know the purpose of, and through this big thing's skull, a giant spear is right in his forehead. It's kind of like separate. Like, to me, it feels very different from the rest of the zone, just because it's not about direct like night elf feeling things. This is okay. These are cultists. Like this is the Twilight's Hammer, an old orc clan that worships the old ones. And it's very WoW, but it's not very night elf.
It's also part of why the dwarves are here. The reason why there's like dwarven archaeologists is because they're investigating like these like ancient Titan stuff because of the great battle that happened between the forces of the Titans and the old god Sargoth the Slitherer. The old god creature Sargoth the Slitherer. I think it's very cool. I think it's very cool to like build into this larger world that is also larger than the Night Elves here, because almost everything else in the zone is like directly relating to the Night Elf history. Having stuff that relates to this is like when we mentioned like the stuff that is beyond ancient, the stuff that is before. Well, it's not clear it's before because like timelines are weird, but like stuff that is before the Sundering, before the world as it was
definitely
under
before the
Ashar.
Sundering.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
because no one knew what it was. Like that thing is there. We don't know what it is. Someone would have remembered it, right? If it were
That's
if
true.
In Night Elf memory. But this is even beyond their personal and cultural history of the Night Elves. This is
Also, the old god stuff happened before. Like Azeroth is literally made to be a prison for the old gods.
Mm-hmm.
So like all of the old god conflict has to happen before anything else.
Right. Not much.
Anyway.
Not much has gone into it in this version of the zone proper, but I love the way it builds the mystery. It's the best. The best thing about regular Darkshore has to be just the way it builds the larger mysteries of the world and the larger makes the world feel big. Just
I'd agree with
in
that.
general.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's really really cool. I totally agree, and I think I do think on top of that, I really do like how it takes all these different factions like Volkor and Thunderous and Civilian, and like talks about Gwyneth, yeah, all these different groups of those. And I do want to quickly mention Elisa, like you get quests. Elisa is a sentinel, so like the military, basically the military of the Night Elves, and you get a few quests with her to sort of like investigate crystals and like take care of some threats around the place. She has you kill the Naga, I believe, in the cave.
I think so.
Yeah. So like, and she's very. There was a quest from her that's like really intense that I really enjoyed, where she's basically like, first she's like, "Oh, can you go and grab them a diseased bear, right? Because I want to see if we can fix it. We can like heal it. We can like do something about it." And you bring it back to her, and then she sees it, and she's like, "Well, there's nothing to be done. Go and kill them all." And she's so sad about it, right? There's no option. We can't actually save this anymore. The best we can do is
Wait, I thought that quest was given to you by a male night elf that's outside of the building that has
oh, is it?
Terendis. Yeah, that's a different quest giver. I'm pretty sure she just has you kill Naga.
You say you kill Naga? Okay. Anyway, regardless, there's the quest from Dead Souls, which I think are kind of important, that gives a different element thing. But there was this quest where you bring it back. I don't remember who it's to, but you bring a bear back, you find this thing, you just slaughter them all. This whole like sadness to the whole zone, right? That's like this both cultural sadness of, oh, we lost this thing, this old empire, these ruins, which we used to be so proud of, but now we can only remember with regret. And how that gets like sort of like mixed in with his personal regret of Cerulean remembering his wife, or here. Yeah, so when someone's thinking like, oh, how we are now repeating these failures, like some corruption is happening that is killing these people. Some of that corruption comes from us ourselves.
I also think it's really important that this quest is given to you by a druid, like Terendis is a druid.
Yeah.
And like so he actually he cares about these things, and he prioritizes this thing. Like, he's not killing these bears to save the night elves. He's killing these bears to save the bears and to save the forest.
Things are bigger than we are, yeah.
Anyway, so, I think that's pretty much an overview of vanilla Teldrassil. I think we should talk about not Teldrassil. Darkshore. And I think we should talk about Cataclysm Darkshore next.
Yeah, so I want to talk about. So we talked a little bit how at the very first episode we're like, okay, so every time Cataclysm takes an old vanilla zone, it has two options. It can either redo the zone and just like modernize it, or it can say what happened, what was really important to that past zone, and we will respond to that. We do something new. We will like say this is the future of that place. And most of the first zones were most of that first thing, besides Tears Smoke Blades, which was a true sequel in a way. Now this is a true sequel beyond any of that. We opened this new Darkshore by saying Aberdeen has finally fallen. That is the first line of the quest.
God, yeah, and.
Yeah.
It's such a bang that it comes to too. Like, you go in there and there's massive water elementals that are just barely being beaten back by the sentinels, and when they kill them, they split into more of these elementals that just attack again. And there's just and like people have like halted up and like set up a new settlement of Lordanel, and just the very first quest. When you go to New Darkshore after you get there, is to find the last refugees from the attack on Aberdeen, the main, which remember was the main town of the original one, and save who you can. And you come there and you see like the names of characters who were like appeared in Aberdeen, dead and dying.
Yeah, and these are important characters too. Like, you find
Iris fucking Windweaver is just there, dead, on the ground.
Same with like Gwyneth, Priestess of the Moon. Like, she's like the lady who gives you all the quests to look at the bones of the animals that have washed up on shore. She's just dead. And
Yeah.
there's so many other characters, and you're able to save a few, like you're able to
Volcor,
save
my boy.
Volcor, and a few others, but like it really, really hammers home, like, these are people that you knew and they're dead.
Yeah, and it's like an easy. I remember when when you get to Gwen the first time, you like click on her, and she's like says like, "Oh, he basically has like a line about being cursed and how this is what we've always been going through. This is what it means to be mortal." And then she passes away. It's so fascinating because of how like her past quests were all about like, oh, something is wrong here. We need to fix this. We need to protect our world, our people. We need to find these corruptions that are coming in. We need to investigate the beach. And then like that thing that her like little like elements she did to like help the people to save the world in a way are then like completely thrown out. Like, oh, the Cataclysm doesn't take any prisoners in that regard. Like everyone is like those little like threats you were fighting against are just nothing compared to this new thing that you have to deal with. And I don't know. I thought it's a pretty interesting sort of dualism there. But Volgor does survive, but he dies later of his injuries as well. So
Volcor.
Hey, no, we have to talk about Volcor's in full. Like this, I think this is the most emotional part of the zone, is Volcor, like from before, he's like, oh my god, when you take him back, he's like on the brink of death, like in bed trying to recover. But you know what he's thinking about? He's thinking about Grimclaw, his best friend, the bear. And he's like, oh my god, I don't know where he is. I need, like, I think he's injured. I need you to go save him and bring him back. I need to see my best friend. And so you do that. You find Grimclaw. He's injured. You do a bunch of quests to help heal him, which all are very nature conscious. Like they're given to you by a literal forest spirit, like just like Cenarius. And like the quest encourages you, if not requires you, to take things from animals non-violently. Some of them are really annoying, but anyway, you're able to heal Grimclaw, and as soon as you do, he takes off sprinting back towards Lord Danelle, the new settlement after
Almost
Aberdeen
like
has been destroyed.
Almost like he senses that something's wrong.
Yeah, and he runs back, and when you get back to return the quest, you find Volcor has died, and the healer lady next to him tells you, oh, yeah, Volcor died a few moments ago, but he died with a smile on his face because he got to see his best friend Grimclaw before he died.
Yeah.
And Grimclaw is just beside Volcor's body and just looks so dejected and sad, and it's really, it made me cry. Like, I couldn't. This was a man that I had saved, like in the previous version of Darkshore. I know these two helped and saved each other, and they love each other so much, and he's just dead now.
Yeah,
there's no more Volcor.
And it's not even like just like saved him. You also sort of saved his soul, right? He completely didn't believe in anyone anymore, and you came and said, "Wow, maybe maybe I can trust someone. I can like care for someone, right?" And what kills him is not like some like outside threat, some world. It was the world itself falling apart that kills him.
It's really sad. And then after that, you get the same quest from Cerulean Whiteclaw is okay. He's fine. And he wants you to go kill his dead wife Shade again. That's crazy. I think this is the only part of the zone that you just repeat as it was in the vanilla version, but it's for a specific purpose. Like, when after you do this quest, you see like he reunites with his wife for a second before she fades away. And later you find out that Grimclaw and Cerulean have started hanging out together, and now because they both lost someone really important to them, and they're finding comfort in each other, and now they're friends, and it's just very, very sweet. And it's like, okay, things can be okay, people can recover, like everything is going to be okay as long as people like act like fucking decent people and just love and support each other, which is super cheesy and lame, but like I really liked it.
I do too. I think I like it too on the level of like of how that compares to the original zone. Right? 'Cause the original zone was all about this mourning for a past, this thing that they're reaching towards and not reaching anymore. Right? They're these like look at these old beautiful ruins, these things we used to have and don't now, or our personal and like historical memory get mixed up. And here it's like the exact opposite, right? Where everything is like intense and violent and in the moment. But like the same time is the thing that they're mourning for before is the Sundering, and the thing they're mourning now is like almost like a modern Sundering. It's often like the actual story of Cataclysm. It's often compared to that old Sundering, and I think it's like there's a neat little parallelism there of like cyclical nature. Like the Empire comes back here.
Deathwing's back again.
And when you God, I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but like when you see Aberdeen and you see it's been just fucking destroyed, there's the souls of like some of the people who you saw dead that you like helped gather to like just preserve them, that they not be used in horrible rituals by the Twilight's Hammer. They're a problem now, by the way. And it's just so effective to see the broken Aberdeen fallen apart and just fallen completely into ruin and disrepair and being used and profane, and it's very corpse effectively being used and profaned by this evil cult to summon forth beasts to destroy more.
Yeah, and in ruined Aberdeen, just outside, like over the water, is a truly gigantic air elemental. It looks like it's like this is the thing that killed Aberdeen, that destroyed it, like summoned by Twilight Hammer, like cultist machinations, and just destroyed this place. And I feel like this quest is both a callback to the Vanilla Zone as well as a little callback to Mount Hyel mission in Warcraft 3, where you gather up wisps of people who died, people who were like that you knew back in Vanilla Aberdeen. Like literally, you talk to the fruit seller in the town, and like you get his wisp, and you get several other people's wisps that you use to just like weaken the giant air elemental so you can get rid of it. Which is again is a giant. That's just a reference to Warcraft 3, which I like. Anyway, sorry. I should stop talking about that. But
you're fine.
This big air elemental, like, and there were tiny little water elementals, and later in the zone you find fire elementals. Like the nature here is really fucked up. Like it's complete elemental corruption throughout the zone, and you find out that a lot of this, like some of this has been caused by the Twilight's Hammer, and some of it has been caused by Zen fucking Falhoof.
This fucking guy.
Yeah.
He's back.
You'd fucking kill his ass this time.
Yes, you do. And I do think it's interesting you mentioned the whole element of the like nature itself is corrupted and completely apart. Where the old Darkshore, right? There was corruption, but it was like animals that are like messed up, or there were like animals beaching on the shore, or like the corrupted night elves being like Naga and satyrs, or you see like the corruption of the furbolgs you have to kill. But here it's the land itself that is like coming at you, like the cold sort of repressive air of Darkshore, sort of keeping everything down, keeping everything rooted, is gone. Like the element of the zone where you walk through and you can barely see anything because of the thick corpse is gone. The trees are super thin and sparse, so you can see like really far away, and like in the distance at all times there's a giant whirlwind in the middle of the zone where giant trees are flying around. And I think it's just intriguing and a pure vibe and visual perspective on, well, this world, the Darkshore, which kept everything in place, which like said, okay, well, it doesn't matter how many old civilizations come through, this force will always be there. Now that force itself being gone, I feel like is pretty interesting and intense as like a something to reflect that old mournful quality of the Night Elves, and then this new violent intensity of like mortality to the Night Elves. And I do want to mention actually something about the zone that's completely new that's not at all in the other zone, because everything else we mentioned was some element of lesson was is the Horde in the north actually. And
Yeah,
so basically,
there's a little
Guys, guess what's there this time? It's some
It's
trolls,
trolls.
baby.
So
Yes.
technically speaking, they were there before,
Yeah.
and that
Okay, they're also okay. I gotta mention this. Actually, I don't have to mention this, but I'm going to. They're all wearing fire outfits. Like both the men and the women trolls are wearing like this, like tiny little vest that exposes everything, and then like literally just like a fur loincloth thing. It's gorgeous. I love it. Gorgeous.
Eowyn.
So sexy.
Technically speaking, they were in the north. You could like when you flew over some of the north flying paths, there was a little Easter egg where you could just see a little village of trolls sometimes.
They be dancing.
They'd be dancing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
they weren't doing anything. They were literally just dancing.
They literally were entirely friendly. There was nothing like, you know, if you actually managed to get there, they were friendly. Like there's nothing. The Shadow Spear trolls are just they're just there. They're just an element of the world that seemed like kind of like reclusive, had no interest in like expanding their territory. They just lived in peace with the Night Elves. But here the Cataclysm pushed them out, right? And the old northern ruins, which used to be inhabited by Naga, are now inhabited by these Shadow Spear trolls who are like going around. And it's clear the Night Elves have been acting very aggressively towards them, right? We have a lot of our, we have a few of our sentinels. We talk about, people have been gone missing, but of course, you know, the Night Elves had been building, had to have a forward camp there, and there were a bunch of dead Shadow Spear trolls around them. So it's not like
the trolls did not leave to come to Lordanelle and start kidnapping people. That is definitely not what happened. Also, it's important to note that because the head priest, the head priestess of the moon and the head druid are both dead, now the sentinels are literally just in charge.
Yes.
Like these are the people that are in charge of this place. And when you talk to them and they give you quests to kill the trolls, like they aren't very PC about it, shall we say. Like they're incredibly racist when they talk about the trolls. Like there's this one lady when you go and try and rescue her because she's been captured by, she was a spy and she was captured by these trolls. She literally says to you, like, as she's dying from being tortured by the trolls, she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was just so hard to take them seriously." And this is kind of a common take trolls seriously. Like she says trolls specifically, even though there's a bunch of horde like orcs here and stuff like that. She talks about the trolls like that because the Night Elves have this very specific, super regressive racist relationship with trolls, even more so than their racist relationship with every other race. Like because technically Night Elves evolved from trolls. They were trolls that found the Well of Eternity and were kind of fucked up by the magic in it and became Night Elves. Trolls are intelligent, intelligent sentient beings, like just like the Night Elves are, just like the humans are, just like the orcs are. And yet when the Night Elves talk about the trolls, they talk about them like they're subhuman, like apes. Like it's really horrifying.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because like it's not just that the trolls are intelligent; like, they also share a lot of similar like elements of life to the Night Elves. Right? They have they have a druidism to their society. The trolls,
they're a lot more chill about their druidism.
Yes.
Right? They're not like we're gonna kill everyone to save nature. They're like, just be chill, guys.
Yes,
nature's cool.
Their nature gods are pretty clearly similar to like the Night Elf nature gods, like the wild gods. Like there's clearly like a continuity here. But like I think like just a good way of thinking about it is that if the Night Elves like look upon their own past as Jara with regret and mournfulness, they look upon their own past with the trolls with excessive self-hatred,
disgust.
Yeah. Because I think you have to understand the Night Elves entirely on this like level of memory, right? Because they have such long life, and because it's really difficult for them to separate their own personal histories from the histories of their people, then the trolls become just another element in that, just another step back into this world of what it means to be a Night Elf. To be a Night Elf ultimately means to be a troll, as much as being a Nog or being a Satyr means being a Night Elf ultimately. I think that's a pretty interesting element. But yes, in this here with the Shadow Spear Troll, they ally with the Horde. Like the Night Elves don't really say this, but they're like, oh, they ally with the Troll. That's why we went to war with them. But it's pretty clear they ally with the Horde because the Night Elves were not giving them safety after they fled from their village into the mountains, and then we just go into the village and completely and utterly decimate the entire people.
Yeah. Also, it's important to note the Night Elves did not live in these ruins. They did, literally it was occupied by Naga, and then which to mostly like the Night Elves left alone. Like in original Darkshore, they didn't. There was no quest to go kill Naga. There was only quests to collect artifacts in the ruins. For these quests, it's like, no, we have to kick these people out of our land, which you aren't even living in.
Yeah, and they explicitly say, "Oh, we have to make sure we go and pick up all their artifacts." We used to just sort of like be okay with them just sitting around there, but now that the trolls are here, we got to take them, because they'll like mess them up, they'll like destroy them. They're those like weird, ugly brutes. Fuck them. And I think it sort of represents...
Wait, did you just say fuck some trolls?
Get the fuck out of here!
Get the fuck out of here!
But I think it's interesting, like this, like because the Sentinels take about this military wing, like the Sentinels don't really have a culture of their own. They're not like the Druids or the Priests of the Moon, who like have very specific historical, personal like ways of ruling society, of like running society, of like caring for nature, of doing science, so on. The Sentinels are merely their military wing. The fact that they are in control, that they have all the power here, is obviously very threatening, and of course that's why
it's not good.
It's pretty obvious why the most extreme xenophobic tendencies of Night Elves become dominant here, which is sort of the opposite of where we go after this part of the zone.
Yes. Oh my god, I think this is my favorite part of the zone. I think it's just like we talked about how in the middle of the zone through the trees you could see a giant tornado kind of thing with giant trees going around it, and you like you look at that when you're doing the quest because they don't take you there in the beginning, like, wonder what that is. That looks really bad. And when you get there, you see Malfurion Storm Rage, and this is the first time I think that a WoW player sees Malfurion Storm Rage, unless you did the special one-time event quests that were in Silithus during Classic.
Yeah.
During Classic, yes. So this is most WoW players, like if they hadn't played Warcraft 3, introduction to Malfurion Storm Rage, brother to Illidan Storm Rage, and mate to Tyrande Whisperwind. He is the head of the druids that has been missing for a long time because not missing. He's been asleep for a long time. And he's back in full force doing druid things. Like when you talk to him, he's standing at the base of the giant tornado and like with his arms up, clearly doing something. And it turns out he is keeping Darkshore from literally blowing apart. Like because of the elementals being messed with here, the land is ready to literally explode, and he is keeping it together with just his magic by himself. It's like the music here, I think we should note, is this huge epic like track that feels like you're in the midst of some sort of epic boss battle. Like this is a great introduction to Malfurion. Malfurion, the head druid of the Night Elves, what Night Elves should be.
Yes. He is the Paragon. He is the Paragon, and I feel it's also worth noting there's also like the image of like when you're sort of there's like covered in like smaller dragons are also just swirling around as if being kept back by Malfurion and like just circling and ready to attack. So that's also very cool.
It's a really, really cool piece. Like,
yeah, and,
so good.
and you get to him and he says, "Hey, can you go find me some friends?"
So Malfurion.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants you to go contact.
I know it's more serious than that. I just I like this. I like to say it that way because we get there and the first thing he does is not, "Hey, go and fight this enemy." It's we need to find the friends. So go on, Eowyn.
Yeah. So Malfurion wants you to go talk to the 3 old friends of the Night Elves, like partners in druidism and nature: the Furbolgs, the Moonkin, and the the ancients. So in the original zone, in the vanilla version, you kill a ton of furbolgs. You kill a ton of moonkin. Malfurion, and you're told to do this by the head druid. Malfurion is like, none of that. No. What are you doing? We're going to go help these people, and they're going to help us, because that is what being a druid is about. Like, harmony in nature, all parts of it. And so you go around to all of these people, and they're like, yeah, I'll help you, but you have to do this for me first. And I think most of these quests are pretty straightforward, but I want to take special note of the Furbolg one, because you get to the Furbolg place, and surprise, surprise, the Furbolgs are corrupted, but there are 2 Furbolgs that are isolated and non-corrupted, and they give you quests to help you cure the other, at least try to cure the other Furbolgs of their corruption, because these are intelligent, like sentient beings, and it's silly for them to always be corrupted, and the solution always just be killing them.
Yeah, the Cataclysm versus Zone handles Furbolg so much better.
Yeah, and then specifically the fact that's like the Furbolgs have the exact same corruption that we saw in Darkshore, but instead of like just, oh, well, they're corrupted, but I guess we have to kill them, it's, let's find this Furbolg elder, let's figure out the best way to save them, and then let's save all of them. Like, yeah, we could have done that the entire time.
Yeah, if literally fucking Thunderous thought about it at all, but he said, I don't have time for that.
And I think it's really important that Malfurion, you know, he as we mentioned, he's the paragon of like druidism, and that just as important to like keeping the nature in bay and dealing with that is the alliance of the Night Elves to these nature spirits, to these races that are closer to nature, the Furbolgs and the Moonkin, and then of course also a green dragon there as well. Who, like,
I forgot about the green dragon. That's kind of important. My bad.
Green dragons, to be clear, in WoW are both the guardians of the dream, which is like the place the druids go to, like, you know, do their whole
sleep. That's when they're all sleeping
and like seeing visions and stuff. And they're also just like generally like the defenders of nature in this world. Like they're like almost like the gods of like defending nature in a way. But the fact that Malfurion has you go and take care of these things is exactly after you go and slaughter a bunch of horde in the most xenophobic moment in like all of like this Night Elf history. You're like, wow. I guess this is what this is like.
I don't know. I feel like when they tried to kill all the orcs because they chopped down the trees without giving any explanation was pretty bad too.
Sure. Yes. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but the thing is, like, we almost like take Night Elfdom and then we split it in half here, right?
Yep.
We say here's one element of Night Elf and here's the other one. Like, it's almost like what first Darkshore does this a bit. Like it shows you different elements of the Night Elves, but here it sort of just says, let's just so explicitly and clearly show what Night Elves can be in either extreme. And I think it's really cool. It's just a way of reacting against old Darkshore. Darkshore, like almost like the old like trees, like repressing all of that, not just repressing like memory of the past, but also repressing the very Night Elf like struggle within oneself between this hyper isolationist sort of response, like scared response to the past, to their dream as nature's protectors, as the people, these scientists, as people who want to save and care for those around them. And Malfurion, of course, represents that latter element.
All right, and from him we go to the last part of the zone, where the Twilight's Hammer have really expanded their whole thing, and we find the whole reason why they're trying to destroy the land. It is to excavate and reanimate that big creature, Soggoth the Slitherer. They are servants of this dark evil powers that once ruled the world, and you have to go back to them. And it's not particularly like complex or necessarily, but I like how it is done. I like how it is. I like how the zone like builds to like this grand like little finale here as a fun little bit of let's end this like Twilight threat and protect Darkshore once and for all. It's cool. I'm not good at articulating this, but like,
yeah, I like how they use the ancients. Like you literally just like summon a bunch of ancients to help take down like an avatar of one of the old gods. It's a really cool moment. Very, very Cataclysm, and also just WoW lore in general, like around the old gods and the ancients, and how and the struggle.
It is worth noting that the sword was driven into Soggoth's head, like this the Master's Glaive in the first place was by an army of mountain giants, which served the Titans back then. And
yeah, which again, like you don't find out in vanilla, but you do find out explicitly in quest text in Cataclysm.
Mm-hmm. There's also more dwarfs. There's also more dwarf silliness.
It's basically the same, but there's more around it this time.
And somehow they made the guy even sillier.
Yes. I do want to mention that specifically the reason why there's this giant whirlwind of like the place splitting apart that Malfurion is holding together is because the old god is literally held in place by the land itself, and they are trying to blow up the land itself so they can free this messenger of the old god of Sagoth the Slivered. So there, which is like I don't know, just like. I don't think you can say about it really. It's just awesome. I mean, you can tie it to the ways that the Darkshore itself has like been split apart. This truly natural thing, and so on. But really, it's just awesome. I just love that idea that Malfurion is holding the old god down by holding the world down from this giant whirlwind.
Sheer force of will and magic. God damn, Malfurion is kind of the goat.
Yeah,
kind of goated up, guys.
He's goated with the sauce.
I think that's the whole zone, though.
That's the whole zone. I don't think I have anything more to say. We can go to conclusions if you guys are ready.
I'm ready.
All right. Yeah. So, what was your least favorite thing about classic Darkshore?
I'll go first. So my least, because I actually have one prepared this time. I don't like that they don't give you any explanation on what Naga are, because like if you don't know anything about the Night Elves or Naga, you're just like, oh wow. Snake people, scary monsters,
our society at the highest level.
Shut up! Like, if you like, I just wanted one sentence in quest text that say, these are a former highborn that were corrupted by old gods, or Ajara made it so, turned her people into Naga, the people most loyal to her, blah blah blah. Like anything about that, like just a single something, because literally it's just so easy to dismiss them without having context.
That's a good one. Next.
Okay, you can go next because that would Eowyn took mine, so you go next.
All right. Well,
sucker.
Well, I think my least favorite thing about classic Darkshore is just very easily just like the fact that the fact that you just don't get a sense for like what the Furbolgs and Moonkin are actually supposed to be doing. We know like kind of vaguely that they're meant to be allies of the Niles. We don't know what their actual purpose of the zone is and like how they like fight into the nerves. We just see, they've been eviled. Let's kill them. That's it, and that's all you get. That's all you get. Storytelling, and you just don't get as much storytelling wise as I feel like you could have.
Yeah, my least favorite part of Darkshore. Those two are all great things, but I think my other least favorite Darkshore is the fact that it feels like the beached animals and the relationship to Teldrassil is something that could have been explored a little bit further. And like we kind of like explore the zone, you find these beached animals, you bring their remains to Gwyneth, and that's like sort of like, we all study these and there's a thing. I think compared to how Denelin was handled in Teldrassil, we really got into his specific methods, the things he's learning about the world. I feel like they could have done more with that in Darkshore, and it's for me like on an aesthetic level, like one of the coolest things in Darkshore, like literally these giant monsters throwing themselves on the beach. Like one of them is like there's a sea turtle with a saddle on it, and like apparently that was like Nagas are riding this. Like, oh wow, Nagas riding this. Like, well, are we doing anything with that? It's like, no, I guess the Nagas are there because they rode the sea turtle.
No, they literally didn't even tell you that Nagas okay, like if you played Warcraft 3, you know that the Nagas have those turtle mounts.
No, they mention it in the quest.
I thought they said something was riding this. I thought they didn't say Naga. Yes.
I think maybe this is something was riding it. Maybe didn't say Naga.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said something rode that. They didn't say Naga.
Yes, but yes, for the and I just think that they could have done more with that, and that's sad to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I definitely agree with that.
Darkshore in general is a little. It is spread a little thin. It does a lot of things, and I don't think it does like all of them amazingly well. So that is like a bit of a criticism of both versions of the zone, admittedly.
I disagree. I think Cataclysm does it all perfectly and amazingly because it's amazing.
Anyway, my favorite part of Darkshore is got to be the actual visual experience of walking through it and the different elements just like popping out of like the dense forest. I think that how that forest, that like visual experience of just this is something actually truly natural after like the artificial naturalist of Teldrassil really kind of like sells you into this idea of what is natural, what isn't natural, is something that you should question, think more carefully about, especially in the relationship to night elves and their such old history, which they present as natural. When what does that even mean?
My favorite thing about the zone was the little hints of all of the things that are going on beneath the surface and in the larger world. Like the fact that you have Shadow Council here, you have Naga here, you have Twilight's Hammer here, you have the Highborn Ghosts here. Like there's so many things going on that you get little tastes of and that you get to find out more about. Like this is a really good zone when it comes to setting up larger plots.
You kind of took that from me.
That's why I went before you, sucker. I was like, I know
Damn.
someone's gonna steal this from me.
Fair enough. I think then in that case, I will take the way that the small personal stories interact with this larger world. When you have stuff like Volcor, Sorrel and Whiteclaw, and their like little stories that go on in the stupid gnome who wants booze.
God, that fucking gnome. He's crazy.
The little absent-minded dwarf, and just like these little stories, the way they interact with the way that they like interact in this backdrop of this grand world, while they're having the small things like just a lost love, an isolated dude who misses his bear friend, little things, and the way that interacts with the larger world, and it's very cool. I think that's sort of like we were getting into earlier with like the contradiction with Thunderous Windweaver. Thunderous is fundamentally more concerned with the small picture than he is with the big picture, because that's what he's interacting with. That's the part of the zone that he's doing. He has to be in charge of the little stuff that's going on there, and he has to prioritize the little night elf stories.
Yeah, true.
What was your least favorite thing about Cataclysm, Darkshore?
It was all good. It's hard for me to think. What is?
I could take one. My least favorite thing about Cataclysm Darkshore is that Sargoth the Slither's avatar was way too small, and it made like mobbing
that petty shit right there.
It made mobbing it with the giant ancients feel a little anticlimactic. I feel like I kind of feel like the Twilight's Hammer is not we're not the underdog here.
No, literally, it felt like we were bullying him because he's so much smaller than the ancients that are fighting him.
We took him out.
Oh god, it's so funny.
Get fucking owned.
My least favorite part of the zone was the fact that Azara's model wasn't the sexy model and it was an old one. I'm just kidding. That was a bad part of the zone.
That's facts, actually, but it was still a sexy model, but not as sexy. Nothing is as sexy as Azara's Legion and
it's
Onward
literally perfect.
model.
It's got the fucking
it's so fucking beautiful. Oh my god.
Her like bra of like shell is so good. Anyway, no, my actual least favorite part of the zone was I felt like the storytelling with the Horde and the Shadows Patrols could have been held a little bit more naturally. And like it felt like they were so invested in like trying to sell you the narrative of you are a good guy, you're alliance, you're killing the bad people, right? Like when like you read through the line, obviously that's not what's actually going on there, but I really think that they could have done a little bit tighter job of like revealing that more clearly.
My least favorite thing, I think, okay, this is just like a larger problem in general. Like I didn't like the letter you get that's like from Garrosh. It's like it felt a little ham-handed to me. It's like, oh my god, there's a letter from the leader of the Horde that these guys are working with the Horde, which we already knew. Like, it's like, oh, and then they're like, oh, this is so ominous and spooky. I'm so scared because Garrosh is involved. But it's like, okay, literally they're working with the Horde. Who do you think this was going through? Yeah. Like, I don't know. It felt like a little bit, oh, we want to name drop Garrosh right now. I didn't love it.
Yeah, actually, I do want to say something like that. Especially because the letter itself didn't really have any substance. It was just, "Oh, I'm Garrosh. We're allies now, right?" And it's like,
no, it literally has no flavor to it at all. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, you think Garrosh would say that like that? No way. Garrosh is a very like distinct character. He like would not. Like Garrosh has a voice, and they weren't using it.
Yeah, and I think actually this is something an element I actually really don't like in all of Cataclysm is that they take away a lot of the really immersive storytelling you get through like these long letters and books and the like in classic WoW. It's just like a general complaint of Cataclysm, but I think this
this was a
sort of representative
a specific missed opportunity where they easily could have been like.
It would have been so easy. Garrosh has a distinct voice, but it's an easy voice to write.
Prove your strength to the Horde. Destroy our enemies.
Perfect. That's all I needed.
Exactly. Anyway, what are your favorite parts of Cataclysm Darkshore? There's so much good stuff, so it's like hard to.
Okay. All right. I think my favorite part of Cataclysm Darkshore. Oh, I mean, I have I think a very easy one for me. I think my favorite part of Cataclysm. I'm not going to steal yours because I know what yours is going to be.
Yeah, you know.
I'm instead going to go with. I think my favorite part of Cataclysm Darkshore is just the way it fixes the shit. That's my least favorite thing for like Darkshore. Like you actually get to like see the Night Elves acting in symbiosis. The whole like the Furbolgs, the Moonkin, the Green Dragonflight, everything working together in the case of like Malfurion stories. That whole like little story there is so nice. I like how it like builds that stuff. It's grandiose. It doesn't like have some of the personal qualities that other stories do, but I really like how it like actually builds the Night Elves' place in the world with relation to other people that aren't just the Night Elves, and I think it does it very well. I really like that. I think it fixes my problems with both Teldrassil and the original version of this zone.
Hell yeah.
Very true.
All right, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I would say my favorite part of the zone is just. I would say the music actually is my favorite part of the zone. So this is actually we mentioned a little bit with the whirlwind and like Valkyrie in the center, like
so cool, so fucking
and, like,
cool,
super intense music. But also like you have like this like really really this you have the old Darkshore theme, but like arranged this new way with this really like lilting cello theme, and then in the Grove of the Ancients where you like communicate with nature and the like, or you have like this really dark and unhappy, but like sort of not like this like scary, but more this like mournful, like quiet sort of way that you find the old like ruined Aberdeen, and there's just like a bunch of different little changes. Like they took. It was mostly like music and tracks that actually were in Darkshore, but they just changed them. They twisted them in little ways to make them more mournful, or make them more expressive, or like to just like sell this story. And I love the way it takes like the raw material of Darkshore itself, the music, the world, the stories, the ideologies, the histories, and shapes that into this new response, this new change of all those things. And I think the music like tells it pretty clearly that was like the core of the whole zone's idea, and I love that.
It was so beautiful.
No mention of
the
creepy whispering at the Master's Glaive.
True. Yes. I mean that's there were so many things. There's the Master's Glaive got music. There also was music in the cave. The troll part had like different music.
The war drums at the troll area.
Very cool.
Yes,
yeah. It's such
so
good soundtrack in the zone. Like they clearly put a lot of work into that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's pretty obvious what I'm gonna choose as my favorite part, but it's the Volcor, Grimclaw, Cerulean story, where like Volcor, a broken, sad person who found redemption like by being saved and in his best friend Grimclaw, and who dies happy because he gets to spend his last moments with the person who's the most important bear to him in the world. And it made me cry, and it made me feel really like it is, I think, the most emotional part of anything that we've played through so far. It's really beautiful, it's really sad, and it ends in a way that's feels redemptive and on a happy note, but not one that like a lot of the times WoW isn't good with the tone changes. Like this one feels tasteful and good and deserved this happy ending for Cerulean and Grimclaw being able to find each other in their grief of losing their most precious person, and being friends, and being able to keep living. And I really, really liked that.
So, were you wowed
What?
by this zone?
I liked classic Darkshore. I think it's a really good zone. I think that it could have been a lot tighter and a lot more carefully done. So I was not wowed by the classic Darkshore. I was completely wowed by Cataclysm Darkshore. Absolutely fantastic zone.
Yeah.
So good! I loved it
Cataclysm
so
Dark-
much!
Cataclysm Darkshore is
top tier,
exactly what
top tier.
what a Cataclysm zone should be.
Yes.
It exists both in dialogue with the original zone in an incredibly effective way, while also telling its own story for like newer players who haven't played the original in a very effective way. It is perfect.
Yeah,
it is.
So
guys, does it beat Tears Fall Blades for you guys?
yes.
I think this is the best zone we've done so far. Cataclysm Darkshore wins.
Yeah, it's so good. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Next time, we will be doing Loch Madon. Yes.
Right.
Famous zone where there's a lake, and that's pretty much
There's a
everything.
big lake, and that's it. No
that's
one ever talks about Loch Madon ever.
I think it's the
a
single
zone where
most
there's
forgotten
dwarves.
zone in the entirety of WoW. Like, is there a
Yeah,
single
literally.
more forgotten zone? I don't.
Zareth
think so.
Mortis.
True.
Who's
I think
Zareth Mortis?
Exactly.
That's one of the jailer's minions, right?
It is in Shadowlands.
Yes.
You know, but yeah, no, I think I'm definitely interested to see what's going to happen there, just because I do not remember this zone at all. I remember that there's a lake and there's a
There's
monster
dwarves.
in the
There's
lake.
a bunch of dwarves, guys. I know you didn't know that, so you're welcome.
There's little ogres. Ogres are kind of cool.
Ogres, my lord.
I wish Cho'Gall
Wait,
was
wrong
there.
game.
It'd be cooler if Cho'Gall was there.
Yeah, anyway,
All right,
I'm Torin.
I think
I'm
Mary.
Eowyn. What?
Shit.
Hey, I was speaking. I'm Eowyn. Not
I'm Mary.
I'm
That's
Torin again.
I'm
Bye.
Eowyn's second time.
I'll see you in another episode of Lullaby Zones. Have a great day.
Bye.